Hey Rip City, this is Drew Holiday, and you're listening to The Blazers Balcony with Brooke Olzendam and Casey Holdahl.
Greetings, Blazer fans, and welcome to The Blazers Balcony, presented by Spirt Mountain Casino. I almost forgot. Episode 148 of The Blazers Balcony, presented by our friends at Spirt Mountain Casino. I am Casey Holdahl. I'm joined by my co-host, co-worker, friend, Brooke Olzendam. I am in North Portland. She is in New Orleans. Brooke, how is the Big Easy?
It's interesting. So we got here, came to my room, had some work stuff I had to do, and then, as always, I went out to get beignet mix for certain Theodore because he loves that. And so I walked across the street to Casey, there's a Walgreens, and then there's like a convenience store to the left, and it was crazy. So I walked in the Walgreens first, and as I'm standing in line, this guy runs in, yells a number, and then runs back out. I'm like, what the heck was that? I don't know if it was like he was telling someone something. It was a code. I don't know. But 5 seconds later, like 10 police officers are chasing him down the street. And I just finished paying, so I went out and looked down, and there's a bunch of like tourists going, "What's happening? What's happening?" I was like, "I don't know, but something's happening." And so that happened in the first 2 minutes of me, leaving the hotel. So a lot of action going on, and it's New Orleans, So I don't know what happened. I don't know. I've never been part of something like that. It was very weird, but I hope they got him. Whatever he was doing. But they chased him. I lost sight, so they were on the chase for a while, and then police officers were coming. Cars were everywhere. There's mayhem. But I got my beignet mix, so that's good. I stayed out of the mix and got that. And it's really cold here. And by the way, Orlando was weirdly freezing, even though we've been there before when it's been freezing. But they had I was watching the news last night or something. I was in my room and it said freeze warning till 8 a.m. And I'm like, goodness gracious. So it was like a warning, to let everybody know it's going to be very cold when we got up in the morning. And it was cold, but I looked out my window and no joke, there were kids in the pool.
I was wondering if they opened the pool, because last year we stayed there, they did not open the pool, and it was too cold to be in the pool. Mm-hmm. But I also still feel like, hey, if this is one of the amenities that you are offering as a hotel, it has to be available to me if I'm staying here for multiple nights, even if it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so part of me feels like, look, I know it's the wintertime, but one, this is Florida, and two, this hotel has two pools. One of these pools needs to be open. I'm not going to go in it, but I want that pool to be open. Like, it's just I feel like the team is not getting their money's worth unless one of those pools is open.
Well, one of them was the one that I could see out my window. And again, I was shocked because we were all being told it's going to be cold tomorrow. Like, even when we were at the arena, everyone that works there, they worked there for a long time. And they're like, it's going to be cold tomorrow. And that was just like the whole theme of the evening. Like, just to let you guys know, it's going to be cold. So yeah, it was, but I still was impressed with those kids, and they were dedicated to swim in that pool. I'm guessing it's somewhat warm. It had to have been because it was cold out. But anyways, it's cold here too, but whatever. I have my sweats on. I have my jacket. It's fine. And New Orleans is bustling, as it always is, all hours of the day and night.
Yeah, there's always something going on in New Orleans. It's a big convention town. It's New Orleans, so there's always something going on. I don't know, maybe the Saints were, I don't know if they're in town this week or not.
Good question. I don't know either.
Obviously, the Pelicans are in town this week because maybe the hustle and bustle is for the Portland Trailblazers being in town.
It probably is.
Seeing as how they are facing the New Orleans Pelicans Wednesday afternoon in New Orleans in the halfway mark of a 5-game road trip, which started with the two Florida teams. Fortunately, the Trailblazers not able to get either one of those wins versus the Heat on Saturday, nor the Magic on Monday. So a bit of I think the first two games of this trip too, reminding me just kind of the way this entire season has been, Brooke, in that, they've been close games. They've been games the Blazers could have won. They are games that I think maybe you look back on later on the season and be like, boy, I wish we had gotten those ones. But still games where every single time they're competitive and putting themselves in a situation where they have a chance to win in the last 2-3 minutes, which I feel like for a young team is, and the Blazers they're like middle of the road in terms of their age this season. But I think part of that is because, you got Dame and he's not playing, and, a few other guys as well. So, I think still generally a young team. And the fact that they're putting themselves in position to win on the road, but then just missing a few spots here and there where they have an opportunity to maybe get those wins, just kind of reminds me of a young team on the road, kind of still trying to find their way. But I would say, even though, again, you didn't get either one of those wins, I still feel like you feel decent about the way that both of those games went.
Yeah, no, they've been competitive. I mean, Blazers went into the fourth quarter against Orlando down 11. It was kind of like they were gaining steam, and then under a minute down 5. And again, it just kind of, I couldn't tell which direction it was going to go. And then when Tiago Splitter had that play call with Tumani to JG that took up 0.4 seconds, the alley-oop from out of bounds. I mean, Kevin, and you don't stump Kevin very often, right? Calabro's been doing this a long time, but he said something something like, "I did not see that coming." And it was just crazy. We were all standing there going, "Whoa, that's incredible." And it was perfectly thrown. I mean, it was executed perfectly. And so then I was like, no way. And I'm standing there at the end of the bench, because it's going to come down to the last second. So I got to be ready, if the Blazers win, to go do the walk-off. So I was ready, and I was like, okay, this is crazy. I wasn't sure how this was going to go. And then I couldn't see the actual floor because everyone was standing on that last-minute shot from Orlando. I didn't see that one coming either. But I had to watch it on the Jumbotron. It was just so heartbreaking. And that's kind of the word we kept saying last night, after the game, because it was, as you mentioned, such a winnable game, and they played well enough to win. And it just was a fluke, not a fluke, but it was a crazy shot. And I thought it was going to be short. Again, I was watching on the Jumbotron, so I didn't have the best view, but I thought it was going to be short when it went in. They went crazy, and I was thinking, I remember being on the other end, the end that they're on, and so I understand, but it was still like, punch to the gut. It was rough because, again, they played well enough to win. And same with Miami. These have all been entertaining games to watch. They're giving it their all. I mean, again, there's a handful of these games that easily could have flipped over as a Blazers win. So I'm enjoying watching this brand of basketball. Of course, you'd love for them to end in wins, but it's still enjoyable, and you can see growth, and you can see, what I really liked is when they would make their runs, like in Miami as well, but Orlando, they don't let that get to them. The coaching staff too, they're like, okay, well, let's just regroup. And then they just kind of chip away at it. And I really don't feel like they're ever out of a game. And we obviously saw the second biggest comeback in the NBA this year with the Blazers. So they're never out of it. I think it's fun basketball to watch, and just would really like them to get rewarded in those situations with wins. And they have a couple times this year too. So it's the NBA, but I've been enjoying the games. I just wish they would have ended differently.
Yeah, I think that, I guess that's kind of what I was trying to say, is that it feels like the resilience of this team is
Right.
really one of their and not even just their best qualities, but really kind of almost a defining quality of this team right now, because you're exactly right. In the game versus the Heat, it was more of kind of a back and forth game, and the Blazers came out hot, then the Heat pushed back, and then and that one ends with the Blazers. I think they went like the last 2 minutes without scoring, or they went like a 2-minute stretch late without scoring, which was kind of the thing that ended up blowing the game for them. But the game on Monday night versus the Magic in Orlando, the first 3 quarters, they just couldn't get it going, like every time it seemed like they had a little bit of juice, like the Magic would push back and score like 6 or 7 points in a row, but they just stuck with it the entire time. And that was the part for me that I kept thinking, and I don't know that I would have thought this last season or the season before that, was that like, no, they're still in this. Like they just got to stay close. Like if they just remain close, like it's going to come back to them at some point in time. Some of those shots are going to start to drop, and they're going to put themselves in a position to have a chance in this one. And that's exactly what happened in the fourth quarter, is that, that I think they were down by as many as 13 or 14 early in the fourth, have just a bunch of little mini runs where they go like 7-0 or 6-0 or 8-0. And then the Magic, push back a little bit, but then the Blazers able to once again kind of go on little runs, and they had that 11-0 run, as you mentioned, that was capped by that alley-oop, which, again, the first thing I thought of when I saw that was there was a Nick Batum play when we played the Spurs in 2011. Exact same play, and it was for the win. And Tiago Splitter was on the court at the time that happened. So I want someone to ask Tiago, did you draw that up, or did you remember that from when you played the Blazers in 2011 and they ran the exact play where the small forward acted like he was going to set a screen, went basket side, dove to the rim, and got the alley-oop and finished? I mean, literally, it's the exact same play that the Blazers ran versus Tiago however many years ago, they run it versus the Magic on Monday night, and it dang near gives them the win. So,
Yeah.
I just thought that game was, again, you'd love to see them actually get the win there. And at a certain point, if you want to be a team that's in the conversation for, the playoffs especially, but even the play-in, those are probably some of the games you're going to have to win throughout the course of the season. And again, like they have had some of those wins. You come back and beat OKC. You come back and beat Denver. You beat the Warriors on the second night of a back-to-back. You have really good games against the Timberwolves that, again, I think maybe you play that game versus the Timberwolves now or in 2 weeks from now. Like, I think you really like Portland's chances in that one. So the fact that they're kind of like, they're in the area, like they're not where they want to be yet, but they're getting close. Like they're close enough to where if things go right, they can kind of pop in and be like, "Yeah, we got the win." And if things kind of don't go right, then they're still putting themselves in position to win. It's just that next step feels kind of like learning how to win some of those games, and that's something that I think you can pretty much only do through experience. It seems like again, you'd love to get those wins, but you can also realize that they're learning a lot through some of these losses, how to remain in games, how to kind of ride out the variance that they're going to experience when they're playing this brand of basketball. And again, I keep saying it because Thiago has mentioned it, that playing this way, it's kind of high highs and low lows. And particularly if you're in one of the lows and you're in the third quarter, it can feel like it's like, well, there goes the game for us. And I even feel myself thinking that sometimes, but then when they just stick with it, then all of a sudden, like Deni and Jeremy and Drew go 6 of 8 from 3 in a quarter, and all of a sudden you're back in the game. And so it really feels like, while they're not executing it the way I think they want to just yet, it does feel if they can make a few tweaks, they can get a few guys back maybe as well. And that's another piece too. The injury situation, I think sometimes is getting overlooked. I keep hearing people being like, the Blazers are playing a shorthanded X team. And it's like, hey, we're shorthanded too, guys. Like we're also missing like 3 guys who all happen to play basically the same position right now. And we could really use those guys considering the way they're trying to play with the number of possessions and picking up full court on defense basically the entire game. So they're getting close to, I think, where they want to be at. And again, I think further along than I would have expected them to be at this point in time in the season. What I think we're 10 games in now, I think. So, I think at what are we? We're 5-5. I think.
Yep.
500, 10 games in. That's better than I would have figured we'd be at this point in time in the season. And again, the way that even the games that they've lost, I think you can still derive something out of those games that you can feel good about and feel like you're making progress, even though you didn't get the W.
I remember after the most recent win at home, you were there. I was hosting post game, and you were in the press conference. But he said something like, Thiago, I forget which game it was, but he said, "Yeah, this is great. I'm still thinking about that Lakers loss." Like he said, you know what I mean? Like so, I understand what you're saying, that you look back and you're like, God, could have got that one. But again, it's such a long NBA season that you kind of have to just move on to the next, especially on a road trip, a 5-game road trip where, there's a day in between every game. So it's kind of like, okay, put this aside. What can we take from that? What do we learn? And move on. But, and also to that, not to harp on it, but in that Orlando game, there were some uncharacteristic turnovers that those don't happen, then it's a different ball game. It's a different ending. So just things that we wouldn't normally see. And I'm not blaming fatigue or anything like that, but there's just sometimes it just happens. And so if you take care of the ball a little bit better, a couple shots here and there, a couple free throws here and there, yeah, it just could have gone either way. It just could have gone either way.
Well, I think that game, the Orlando game, particularly the fourth quarter, really it's like an object lesson in the idea of the numbers coming back at some point in time. And for both teams, for the Blazers, they only had 3 turnovers in the first 3 quarters, which on one hand, that's awesome, but it's also really unlikely they're only going to finish a game with 4 turnovers. That's a turnover a quarter. So you assume at some point in time, things that weren't turnovers before maybe going to catch up to you at some point because again, it's like you've only turned the ball over 3 times through 3 quarters. The numbers would indicate that maybe some turnover is coming up here. And then on the other side, you got Desmond Bane, who goes 0 for 5 from 3 throughout the entire game. And then he hits the 1 3-pointer he has to hit as time expires. He's a fairly good 3-point shooter. Those numbers are going to come back for him. The likelihood that a shooter like Desmond Bane is going to go 0 6 from 3, even taking a desperation shot, like, again, it's just those numbers at a certain point, they come back around. And so Bane's 3-point numbers came back around to give them the win, and the Blazers' turnover numbers in that fourth quarter, unfortunately, came back around as well. So, a lot of times I feel like when we talk about, sticking with it and the percentages are eventually going to bear out, it's usually we're kind of talking about shots, but I think it also applies to all the other statistics as well, which, if you're doing something really poorly through first 3 quarters and you typically don't do those things poorly, there's a good chance in the fourth quarter, it's going to turn around for you a little bit. But unfortunately, the opposite is also true, where if you're doing something great through the first 3 quarters, once you get to the fourth quarter and, you're fatigued and everyone's starting to play a little bit harder, that also changes that a little bit too. And then you have some turnovers that I agree, I would consider uncharacteristic in that fourth quarter. So I also felt too, like, I hope I didn't jinx Drew in that game by having that broadcast story before, like, and then, he has some turnovers in the fourth. Like,
I don't think you did.
I don't think that's probably what it is, but if anyone wants to blame me for that one, that's fair enough.
Those are awesome. I've told you this, but I would like to say it on the podcast as well. Those have been so well done. You're killing them, and everyone's saying so on the broadcast team, and we want more and more and more. They're like so great and so different than what, we normally do, just because your voice, you tell it, as a writer, and it's so great. It's like, they're so well done.
Well, that's very kind of you, Brooke. I will say though, that like, I don't think it's fair that people are just like, I even was telling, so Guthrie, the guy who edits them, who's doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And then Greg, I send him my draft, and then he shapes it up, puts it into a script form. And also, again, like, as someone who's worked in television for however long Greg's worked in television, like he makes it work better for television, whereas like I'm writing for the web, and he understands better how to write for television. But they only say by Casey Holdahl. That's not fair. Like, everyone is doing work in those projects. And so I even mentioned it to him in our Slack channel. I was like, we need to come up with a name for ourselves or something, because I don't feel comfortable with these saying by Casey Holdahl when Guthrie is doing a fantastic job editing them together. And Greg is taking some of the slop that I'm sending him and turning it into something that's actually edible. So I don't know if anyone has suggestions what a 3-person team of dudes who are writing stuff for the broadcast could be called, please send it to me. Like, I was like the Lonely Island guys, like, yeah, they're like their own little group, or like, Brooke, you're a big comedy person, the Do Not Destroy guys. Like, we need a name like that, so like when we do make something, everyone can get some credit for it, because I feel uncomfortable with it just saying by Casey Holdahl.
Well, just so you know, one of the guys from Do Not Destroy got promoted to cast member, so that's kind of lost its way. So this could be you, Casey.
Well, Guthrie might be angling for a promotion then, because he's doing some really good work. So
no, but that's very kind of you. I still think you should, accept some credit.
I do it. I thank you. I really enjoy doing them too, and I appreciate that they're finding some space in the broadcast for it, because it's fun for me too, and especially as someone who likes writing, but written stuff just doesn't do as well as it used to do. So like, having a place where you can still write but also kind of display that content in a different way is it's nice for me.
And you get to put a suit on.
And I get to put a suit on. I do have a lot of suits. I'm running out of good shirts to wear though too, and I'm also noticing that like suits fit better like in the chest now, but like the arms are too short, and so like I'm doing a lot of like debating with myself how much of your cuff should be sticking out from the bottom of the jacket. I'm
not the one to ask that one.
Yeah, I don't know where I've landed on that just yet, but
I don't know. You got Michael, Kevin, and Lamar who rock the heck out of suits. So maybe ask them when you see them. I know this is really important stuff that I need to know the answer to.
So we're safe. So at least we talked basketball early, so we stuck people in, and then now so that's I think the direction we should go, Brooke, is we just do, instead of like starting off talking about the amount of mayo that they're putting on sandwiches that they said didn't have mayo on them, or whatever other topic we happen to get sidetracked with. We do that in the middle, and we start out with the basketball. So
That's smart. That's smart. I did not get a Cuban sandwich when I was there. I got something similar to it. Similar. It was delicious. But now you got me. I always kind of give you grief because it's just a funny thing I like to do. It's just when you're talking about your favorite sandwich shops, I'm like, Casey's got to tell everybody about his favorite. But I will say you have rubbed off on me because now I'm looking for sandwich shops everywhere we go. Like literally.
One, I appreciate that, but two, I have recognized that you have realized that does rub me a certain way that kind of bothers me a little bit, and I appreciate that you've delved into it now too. You're like, no, I know that this kind of annoys Casey, so now I'm going to be like, oh, you got to get your sandwich somewhere, huh, boy? Yeah, who needs to work? We're just out here buying sandwiches. Who cares about the basketball? It's like, yeah, where can you get a sandwich from? Like, I appreciate that you've. Yeah, and I feel like that's a little bit of me rubbing off on you, Brooke.
Yes,
because
yes,
yeah,
it is. So in more ways than one. But
I feel like it's a little like the seats on the plane. That's what I feel like. It's like me talking about Brooke getting her own seat is a lot like Brooke talking about me being too sandwich focused when we're on the road. So
well, it'll be like this. Like I'll be walking around. Like we'll be at the arena or shoot around or perhaps somewhere. I'll walk around a corner and like you don't know I'm there and I don't know you're there, and you will be telling like this sandwich shop, like to Matisse or something, like Matisse, this if you want a sandwich. I'm like, oh God, Casey, who haven't you told about your favorite sandwich? And it's great. You're telling, and people have tried. Unfortunately, Kevin Calabro, not his fault, but could not pay for it because it was cash only. But he listened to you. He walked all the way there. So I'm pro you and your love of sandwich shops because that has been rubbing off on me, and I got a fantastic sandwich while I was there. And I'm curious where you stand on this. Do you look for just sandwich shops, or do you look for bakeries that also have sandwiches? Because they have their own bread a lot. So this is what I'm struggling with now that you got me overthinking about this.
I do generally look for sandwich places first, but you are right. In modern sandwich artistry, I think they have figured out that if you are breaking your own bread, you're already like at a level. So, I mean, maybe it was the Subwayification of sandwich making, minus the ground up mats that they were using in their breads at Subway, supposedly. Remember that? Like they were like, whatever. But either way, yeah, no, and because I also like to go to bakeries too, like outside of like the sandwich portion of it as well. Parkway's pretty good po' boys. It's kind of a bigger place in New Orleans. So, like I'm not even just like the hole in the wall guy either. Like a bigger place that makes a good sandwich, like it's all right with me too.
Speaking of bakeries, it was Phil, his 40th birthday a couple days ago.
Phil
on our staff.
Oh, okay. Phil's 40?
Yeah, Phil just turned 40.
I would not have guessed Phil was 40.
No, he looks very young. And so we were getting on the bus to leave Orlando, and I had found out the night that it was his birthday, and we had already I felt bad. I didn't know till later. I think it's Travis or someone said, by the way, it's Phil's birthday. I was like, oh, I hate when I find out it's someone's birthday, like at the end of the birthday. And then found out it was the big 4-0. So we were leaving, and I said, Phil, and the next day I said, did you get cake on your birthday? He's like, no, we're busy. There's no time for that. I'm like, no way. So there was a bakery across that street, and I got there really early. So no, this was when we were leaving Miami. And so I want
that bakery by the hotel in Miami. Very good.
Yeah. Well, I got him.
Rosetta, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's what it was called. And it's got a little, it's like banana cake or carrot cake. So look, one of the two, they look the same. And just a little, like one off, and brought it to him. And I was like, Phil, happy birthday. I'm sorry it's the day late. I'm sorry. You literally just walked across the street and bought it, but you need cake on your birthday. And then it was so cute today. He's like, by the way, I have to tell you this. My dad called me on my birthday, and he's like, have you had cake yet? And I said, no, Dad, I haven't had cake. And then he called me the next day. He's like, please tell me you got cake on your birthday. And I was like, that is so sweet that your dad, he's like, my dad's a big, got to have cake on your birthday. I was like, well, I'm so glad that worked out. And I found out it was your birthday. So he did get his piece of cake. It was a day late and $1 short, but he got it. So it's fun to, being on the road is, it has its ups and downs. But when it's like a birthday or something, celebrate, and you're not with your family or on the road, you just kind of try to just love on the person whose birthday it is, or if they have something to celebrate, something like that. So when next time you see Phil, tell him happy birthday.
I will. And yeah, you're exactly right, Brooke. Right under the road, it can be fun, but it's not a piece of cake.
Or it can be a piece of
Yeah,
cake.
or it could be a piece of cake. Yeah, exactly. I don't know how piece of cake became like something easy, by the way, too, because obviously it's not that easy necessarily to acquire a piece of cake sometimes.
That's true. Yeah, I was lucky to do so that day. I didn't know if I would be able to. So you're right. We're gonna have to look into that. But you know what isn't a piece of cake? So what happened to me in Orlando?
What happened to you in Orlando?
It was no, it was Miami.
I know
Sorry.
I know what happened to you in Miami. I was
Oh
like
yeah,
something
my
else
bad.
happened in Florida.
No, no. I actually went unscathed in Orlando for the most part, even though the ice was under the floor and everyone was freezing. And of course I wore a dress that day. I was like, what are you thinking? But it was fine. Nothing to report from Orlando. In Miami, so I sit it's a new place and it's a riser. So there's like 3 stairs and then it's like, I don't know, 3 feet. And so it was me and next to me was Miami's sideline reporter, broadcaster, just us two. And he had to get up and, move behind me a couple times, go do a hit or whatever. And the fourth quarter, halfway through, he's walking back behind me and I still always, scooch my chair in. And I just hear this bam and and I'm like, what is happening? And then all of a sudden I feel this huge pound on my head. And our broadcast team's so tired of hearing about this story. Sorry, guys, if you're listening to this, but it was traumatizing. So an entire LED cover of a FanDuel sign that was like 10 feet long, like a foot, maybe not a foot. It was a big sign. And it was like, took up all behind us. And it was like, so right behind our heads, you see. And I don't know how, but the cover of it fell off. It hit him in the corner. So he actually got the brunt of it. It hit him in the corner of the head. And then it kind of evened out. And the whole thing, like in the middle, fell on the top of my head. And I was like, what is happening? And then everyone around turned to look because it was so loud. And we're all like, ah. And everyone's like, not everyone, but like, are you okay? It was mostly him going, are you okay? And I was like, are you okay? And then the people that worked there, the building people came out and more so just moved it. And they're like getting it out of the way. I'm like, hello.
Yeah, they didn't care about you. They're like, no, we got to get the sign moved now. Yeah.
No, I was like, do I have a concussion? I'm looking around like, am I seeing two? I don't remember the last time I had a concussion. I don't even know if I ever have. But I'm like, I know
that's part of having a concussion is you don't remember.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, it was funny. I had one more hit before post game, and so Greg's like, "You have the fourth quarter read." I go, "We'll see if I get through this. We'll see. We'll see right now if I have a concussion or not." Because it was just not that difficult of a thing to do. But like, we'll find out if I can't read this right now. And it was fine. And it was more just like I've never experienced. We've been doing this a long time. I've never had a piece of the arena of that size fall on top of my head in the middle of a close game in the fourth quarter where everyone's like turns and looks. I'm like, I don't even know what's happening right now.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And so we kept checking in on each other like, where are you from? Like we asked each other questions just to make
doing
sure.
The concussion protocol test. Yeah,
so
well, everyone on the broadcast might be tired of you telling that story, but you're probably tired of me saying you need to hire a personal injury attorney because I feel like this is. It does not seem right to me that you can just get a sign dropped on your head in an arena and there's no repercussions for it for anybody. That feels to me like something that needs to get addressed financially. So that's where I land on that.
We shall see. My audio guy, he was like, "You really need to file, a report." I was like, "I've never done that. I don't even know how to do that." He's like, "Well, what if you wake up tomorrow and you're sick as a dog
Exactly.
and you're seeing double?" So it was a learning experience. I mean, I don't know if that's the right word, but I guess I don't think it'll ever happen again because it's never happened before. But maybe next time knock on wood, if it happens again sometime, I'll be more prepared and ready to react and like, what do I do here? But mostly I was just like, I can't believe that just happened because I'm not over. I do sometimes overtell stories, maybe, a little exaggerate. I'm not exaggerating. This was a huge sign.
When you told me you got hit in the head, in my head, it was for whatever reason, like the size of like a light, maybe that like you would use to light a set. And then when you sent me the photo of it, I was like, no, that's like the whole, like, it's the sign that is over the tunnel, basically, like at Moda Center, like they're where your little desk is at, like, That's about the size. And it's like it's like a large size television that got dropped on your head.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. No, it wasn't. It wasn't nothing. I mean, I guess good thing. I'm looking for the positives. It happened later in the game, so that's good.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's so funny because our team doctor, Dr. Watts, I'm not going to go. You know, I of course was going over with the broadcast team and Greg, and he's like, what happened? I go, because I said in my talk back, I was like, you won't believe what just happened. He's like, what just happened? I go, this sign fell in my head. He's like, what? I was like, I know. And so the next day when we were flying out, she's so sweet. She comes back, she goes, did I forgot to check on you. Did a sign fall on your head? I was like, yes, it did. She's like, if that's a new one for me. I was like, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But I'm fine. You know, I had a little bit of a headache yesterday. It's totally fine today. I'm going to survive this one. But yeah, that's, you know, when the guy threw up on your computer, that's one of those, your laptop that you remember, like what just happened. This was for me similar, and like I can't believe that just happened. But here we are.
Well, I appreciated Dr. Courtney too when I got thrown in the bus when it had to stop because the Waymo didn't stop for the police escort, and I had the indentation of the seat that was in front of me on my chest for like 4 days. Dr. Courtney was kind enough to check me out before the game got started and give me a few pain meds as well, over the counter, of course.
Of course.
Because she probably was not expecting to have to take care of the support staff, but we keep getting injured for some reason. So.
I don't know. Oh, anyway, so that was the random event so far of this road trip. It's not even half over, so who knows what's going to happen next.
It is not half over. And speaking of which, let's talk about the rest of the trip coming up here, Brooke. As I mentioned, on Wednesday versus the Pelicans, a New Orleans team that, you know, has struggled a bit out of the gate. Seems like they've maybe made a little bit of progress. They've gotten a few wins as of late. I would say definitely a game you feel like the Blazers, particularly with a night off, should win. You know, it's a road game, so a lot of times it's just about getting that first road win can be kind of tough. So, you know, I think a pretty good chance for Portland in that game versus the Pelicans, but I obviously, you know, like they're going to need to play their best. Like, that's another thing about this Blazer team. Like, they're improved. They're much better than they have been defensively. Their ability to the way that they're playing defense right now is going to keep them in games that otherwise they might not be able to stay in. But even against the teams that are, you know, maybe don't have as many wins right now, and granted, it's still also early too, so it'd be foolhardy to look at any team and be like, well, we're gonna win that game. Like, yeah, you know, you can feel good about your chances, but it's still early. Everyone's still kind of figuring stuff out. So, you know, that's a game where, you know, if they can get that one, then you still give yourself a chance to finish the trip, you know, better than 500, which is always the goal for any road trip. And again, if you go 500 on any road trip, that's a good trip. It doesn't matter who you're playing. Doesn't matter if it's the 5 worst teams in the NBA. If you're winning on the road, that's a good win. So that's one on Wednesday night, KUNP, 6:20 a.m. Blazer Vision for that one as well. And then Friday, you got the Rockets in the NBA Cup Group C game. A very good Rockets team, a team that you know, kind of defensively, I think the Blazers and the Rockets have some similarities in the way they play and the kind of the physical approach to defense and picking up. So that should be a really interesting game as well. And then you finish it off with the Mavericks on Sunday. And you know, again, they've also been struggling too. I don't know if there's always like the new coach bounce. I don't know if there's a new general manager bounce since they've decided to move on from their previous general manager that traded Luka Doncic for reasons. So you're exactly right, Brooke. Still still 3 games in this trip and still a chance to, again, not even say turn around, because I feel like they've played pretty well on this trip. Like I like the way that they played at times versus the Heat. I really like the way, again, that they stuck around and kind of took their opportunity versus the Magic. Just unfortunate that, you know, they just had a few things didn't go their way. So I feel for starting the trip 0-2, like, I feel about as good as I think you can probably be in that situation.
Yeah.
And feel good about their chances to, you know, at least get maybe a couple of these next 3 games to finish off the trip.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow's game. I think it's that one of those games where it's like, okay, like we talked about, we played well in those first 2, but it's time to get the dub. We got to finish this one out. And also, I just wanted to add, I know it's early too, but the way that Deni's been playing is just unreal. And I'm not take this with a grain of salt, but on our algorithms, we get a lot of the same things, basketball and be like, and I've just been seeing so many people like projected all-stars. I know it's 10 games in, but I just appreciate the fact that he's not only in the conversation, which he should be, but that like people already are saying like, if what we're done today, he would be there. And I'm just so pleased that people are taking notice. I think obviously it started to last year, but the way that he has come out this season, I'm so pleased that he is getting the love that he deserves with the way, like, his numbers are fantastic. And real quick, in Orlando, I looked behind me where I was sitting at the scores table, and I saw this guy in a Deni jersey that I remember seeing in Miami. And I went up to him. Yeah, I went up to him. Yes. And I said, "You were in Miami?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, and he's like, he's like, "I live in Miami." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then you came here. He's like, I go, "How are you a Portland fan?" I mean, I knew he was wearing a Deni outfit, Deni jersey.
Outfit,
sorry.
yeah.
I can't. I say that to my son when I'm like, "Put your outfit on for soccer." He's like, "It's not an outfit." I'm like, "You're right. I'm sorry." But he had a Deni jersey on, so he then told me he's just a Deni fan, a huge Deni fan. Because I said, when are you going to come to Portland? He's like, "I've never been to Portland." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." He's like, last year I went to Atlanta, and he had like all these mostly East Coast places, but he's very just like, like you remember him when you see him. And so I was like, yep, I saw you last game. I've seen you at games before. Well, if you got to get out to a game in Portland. If you're going to be number one Deni fan, you got to come out to Portland. He's like, "Yeah, I don't know. I really like being at home in Miami." I was like, "Oh, I get that. I understand that." But
I can see that.
But yeah, I can see that. But yeah, and people like, again, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but just the Deni fans, they were on fire in Miami and in Orlando, just all out. And I'll tell you, in Miami, I said this to the fan, I said there were times when Deni hit a huge shot and you'd have to look around because you felt like you're at home. It was crazy. I know we've seen that a lot, but anyways, shout out to Deni. That's my shout out. I don't know if we're doing shout outs this week, but that's mine.
Well, no, and I'm glad you mentioned it too, Brooke, because sometimes when you work for a team, like you obviously you watch them a lot, and so I think even sometimes you kind of look at it and you're like, boy, he looks really good, but like, am I?
Yeah,
it's because I watch him all the time. It's because I work for the team. But you're exactly right. Like, Deni is definitely getting kind of credit nationally that he deserves, because he has been one of the best forwards in the NBA, let alone the Western Conference. You talk about All-Star, it's going to be international and domestic this year, which obviously I think probably helps Deni's case a little bit. And he's doing it in all kinds of different ways. I mean, like his ability to get to the line right now, like his scoring has been great. Like, he's rebounding the ball like crazy.
He's rebounding. He's one of the better rebounders on the team right now.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons I know that Deni's playing well is because a few podcasts ago, when I compared him to LeBron James, I didn't have a bunch of people yelling at me about comparing him to LeBron James. I thought for sure I was going to get at least a few people being like, how can you mention those guys' names together? And I felt like I did a good job of being like, hey, I'm not saying they're the same guy, but they have a similar style of play. Yeah. And the fact that no one was like, how dare you, like, leads me to believe that people also see that too, which I think is great. Like, I think, with how, as well as he finished last season, I think maybe people might have looked at that and been like, boy, he looks really good right now. But sometimes it's hard to know what to make out of the NBA in, February, March, April.
Yeah.
The fact that he did pick up and play as well as he's played to start the season, I think really makes you feel confident about the way that he's approached the season, and makes you feel like it's sustainable, and that the work that he's done so far this season is the real Deni Avdija, not just a guy who's on a really good stretch.
Yeah, that's who he is. I don't think he knows any different. We talked about it so many times last year, because he was very open about not being very comfortable when he first started, and that he's like, guys, this isn't me. This is not how I play. And when he got into a rhythm and got into his being Deni, being who he is, I don't think he knows how else to do it. He doesn't know how to not go 100 miles per hour down the floor. That's just who he is. And so I don't think this is like a fluke, or he's on a streak right now. He's in his own rhythm, and I just believe that this is the Deni that is truly who he is, and we'll just continue to see it all season. It's going to be fun, because as it gets closer and closer to play-in, play-off, all that, guys like him, competitors, turn it up a notch. So it's just going to be fun watching not only him, but I just am highlighting him because he's just been on top of my brain recently, just seeing all these things about him and getting all this love and appreciation, which he deserves. So that's my little shout out.
Yeah. And again, he's just been really good all season long. And, if he continues to play at this level, like he is an all-star for sure. Like, and then I think even maybe start talking about all NBA stuff, but we are 10 games in, so we probably shouldn't get too far over it. And, we'd like to win some road games on this trip as well. So if they're able to maybe finish off this trip well, then I think you feel really good about coming back to Portland, and then you just kind of see where the season goes. But it does seem like the team is coming together a little bit, and you assume that within the next couple weeks that hopefully they'll maybe be getting some of these guys back. I think we're probably due for some kind of update on Scoot here within the next week or two. I think Matisse, I think the hope, particularly with that thumb injury, is that maybe he'll be able to come back, sooner rather than later, since, it's not something that'll affect his fitness. Obviously, Blake Wesley's going to be out for a little bit, which is a bummer, but otherwise, I think the Blazers maybe getting a little bit healthy and, maybe getting a chance to kind of stack together some wins here and get moving in the right direction. And I think obviously Deni has been a huge part of that. So the fact that he is playing as well as he is playing right now is worth, making note of, because he's really taking that next step.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. Just we love Deni. He's such a hard worker, and I just love how much he loves this team, this group of guys, because like, as I'm reiterating, it just takes a while when you get to a new team and you weren't even, expecting it. And now, the love in that locker room, like with Deni and his teammates, like, it's just fun to watch. Like he and Dwop have a fun thing. Like they go back and forth all the time, just in like supporting each other. And it's just, you can see these guys are out there, and it's cliche, but playing for each other. That's truly what I feel like they've been doing. And it's different guy every night, or it's 8 guys every night, it's all contributing. So yes, let's get a win from it. I like that.
We'll bring one back, Brooke, or maybe bring a couple back. Actually,
I think like 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think you can manage 3.
Okay, I can do that for you.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Blazers Balcony, presented by Spirt Mountain Casino. As mentioned, 3 games: Wednesday versus the Pelicans, Friday versus the Rockets in an NBA Cup game, finishing off Sunday versus the Mavericks in the last game of that as well. So, and that's a little bit of earlier afternoon game on Sunday, so maybe get home in a little bit earlier time. So thank you so much for joining us. As always, please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We'll do it again soon. Brooke will, when you get back to town, we'll record again. But until then, you be safe out there, and bring us home a couple wins. So for myself and Brooke, thanks so much for joining us as always. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace out.